This is my video of Cast Thy Bread Upon the Water. This is a painting that I was really moved to create. In these troubled times that we are currently living in, some people worry, some people feel isolated, and many miss normal life and the freedom, seeing our friends and family freely. This phrase came to my mind, cast thy bread upon the water. And I decided to write a song about it, and then I decided to make a painting about it. My message that I got out of it was to have faith and things will get better. I hope you enjoy my painting created with acrylic inks, watercolor, and gouache. Now let's paint. I had a concept in mind, and it was meaningful and important to me. I decided to start out with 2 pieces of paper and 2 starts to pick which one I liked the best after it came out. I stretched out 2 pieces of paper and I got them ready to go. In the vision I had for these paintings, there was a figure standing on a beach and reaching one arm out to the sea and to the sky. In order to preserve some semblance of a figure, I decided to approximate 2 shapes. On one piece of paper, I cut out a form of a person with an arm stretched out. I wet that down and sort of stuck it to the paper. On the other piece of paper, I wet it and then put on a piece of plastic wrap, scrunched into a form. Now I was ready to start in with everything good and wet with some acrylic ink, and that is the paint that I started this painting out with. It is not really easy or even possible at times to control paint on wet paper. It really wants to go where it wants to go. However, I've learned with practice that you can isolate color areas. For example, at the bottom I put beachy type sand colors. In the central area I tried to put in wave and ocean colors. And in the top I tried to put in a sky color with the suggestion of a sun. With the plastic wrap that comes next, I can also apply certain textures and directionality by pulling at the plastic wrap. And that is what comes next. But this sure is fun, putting down the beautiful bright colors onto the wet paper and watching them mingle and mix. Plastic wrap on wet paint leaves beautiful textures. I remove the plastic wrap when it's dry, and then I peel off the paper form that I had sort of stuck onto this paper while it was wet. I have the vague form of a person. Now I'm going to shape it into more or less what I want. It was very clumsy, and I want a more detailed form of a woman standing on a beach. This was a concept painting. It took me quite a while to get the figure just right. I looked at lots of different images of a person standing with their arm outstretched like they were throwing something. And this is a painting called Cast Thy Bread Upon the Water. Once I got that right, I begin to work on the water. I'm trying to use an ink pen and opaque white ink to sketch in waves and light, following the direction that the plastic wrap imprinted onto the paper, which allows it to feel natural and random and somewhat more like a real beach would feel. I'm trying to capture the waves rushing into the shore, some rocks on the beach, and working around the figure. Of course, where the waves hit the rocks, I'm using more foamy white coloring, as well as some foam along the beach and the shoreline. The bright sun in the sky, which sort of took the shape of a flying bird that I liked, is reflected in the water. So I'm lighting up the water and the thin puddle of water right on the sand. I'm using a lot of opaque white ink here. I must admit I don't really like using an ink pen. It could be that I'm left-handed and I've had only right-handed nibs on my ink pen, but I really have a rough time with it. But there's nothing else like it for getting a very fine white line. Delicate and edgy. I do enjoy the look it produces. I just don't enjoy using the tool. I'm building up this white opaque ink over and over again until it gets to the brightness that I want. And you can see the directionality of the waves starting to come in at a diagonal. Where the waves break on the shore, there's different layers of wetness on the sand. And I'm trying to show the translucent, thin layer at the very front. Working into the sky, I'm trying to structure it so that it has layers of clouds and looks a little bit more logical than the wild colors that were there. I'm painting at a large rock formation on the far left side of the water. And now I'm coming in with some good dark colors in the waves. To add some accents and some good shading. I'm detailing and darkening the rocks in the front of the picture on the beach. And here's my rock formation at the edge of the water on the far left. I've just begun painting the figure. I've done some shading on the arms and legs. And now I'm working on the shirt and the shorts. I've already done the hair in a ponytail. I do believe this white shirt gave me more trouble than anything else in my whole painting. Trying to get the feeling that there was a person's body under it and it wasn't just plain painted on flat. Trying to get the shading right. And even the right lines on the muscles was quite a challenge for me. I think I got it eventually. Some paintings you do just have to be right, and this was one of them. And my dog, who you hear barking, agrees. Building up more darks in the ocean as well as around the picture and painting carefully around the form of the woman. In order for the white shirt to stand out, she will have to have darks around her. And each day when I start to paint again, I notice that I'm still not happy with that white shirt. But I just keep working at it and you'll see that happening. I'm deepening the color on her legs, and I will do so on her arms as well. Continue to work on the proportions and make sure that the legs are long enough proportionate to the body. I realized that they sort of had to go off the page at the bottom, and that was okay. I am continuing to work and shading out the beach. I'm adding some colors to it. I'm enhancing some greens. And I'm continuing to work with a thin layer of water. I am darkening her arms and her legs and forming out her hand. At this point, I've mixed up some permanent rose with some white gouache, and I'm shading in with the pinks that are in the sky into the sand. Since the white gouache is opaque, it's allowing me to paint opaquely over other colors and let it show up nicely that way. It's a good idea to repeat colors in your composition in more than one place. So if the sky is pink, it's nice to add some pink to the reflections in the sand and the water. I'm darkening the rock formation on the far left. And I'm darkening my water edge of my waves again. I want to give the waves the structure, with the tops being lighter and the middles and underneath the foam being darker. But I don't want to make them look fake either, so this is a challenge to try to get the waves right. But I'm satisfied with how her shirt and her pants are standing out against the waves and look fairly natural. I've lit up the right side of her arms and legs and along the right side of her body because the sun is on that side. And that gives a dimensionality as well. The style of this painting I would describe as more expressive than realistic. I want this to express the feeling of longing, of faith, of reaching, and of casting bread upon the waters. In these times, I feel like we all need some hope, and some faith is never harmful to just about anyone. I'm adding more white to the right side of her shirt, and I'm continuing to shade the far side. I'm adding more white to the right side of her leg to make it stand out a little bit more. And again, this is white gouache that I'm using here. I found using the white gouache allows me to get the roundness of the limbs and to suggest the muscles, along with the dark on the far side for the shading. I'm adding a little bit of opaque gold mixed with white gouache to make the beach sand a little bit more uniform in color. I put some of that color into her shorts too. I thought it looked nice. And working carefully around the left edge of her shirt and shorts, I soften the line between them and the ocean, because I wanted her to fit into the environment and the setting that she was in and not just be a sharp-edged object in the middle of the beautiful natural beach scene. And I'm starting to get the shirt and the body form under it more to my satisfaction. It's feeling more natural now. Working with the shoulder, the color around the top raised arm on the sky, and working on the hand that reaches out over the waters. I think I redid this hand at least 3 times, but having the white gouache allowed me to do the covering up I needed to when I messed up. I wanted this hand to be darker and silhouetted against the brightness of the sky. But making a tiny hand with tiny fingers takes a lot of time, and it's quite challenging. And I took it off with a wash and a blot. And now I will put it back on again, and hopefully it will look better. I'm looking very carefully at the musculature of my own hand when I raise it into this formation, trying to get it looking right. So I don't guess at what things look like. I use reference pictures for this kind of picture. Some things come a little bit more naturally to guess at. But hands in different positions are always a challenge. So I strongly suggest you look at a hand when you're drawing a hand in whatever position you're trying to draw. At this point, the painting is coming together. And what I'm doing are my final tweaks. I can look at the painting and say, I really do like this about it. This needs a little bit more work. I'm almost finished. So what I'm doing now is seeing small details that need darkened or lightened or just improved a little bit. I'm finally getting the outstretched hand correct to my eyes. I've gotten her skin to the tone that I think would look right if it was silhouetted against a bright sky with the darks and the lights. And I'm blending out the colors of the sky a little bit more, darkening the rocks a little bit more, putting some stone detail into the far rock formation. A little bit more blending out of the sand color. And a little shading around the water. It's done. I hope you enjoyed my video of my watercolor, acrylic ink, and gouache painting, Cast Thy Bread Upon the Waters. I hope that you'll subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos. There are links to the products I use in the description box below, along with links to my Facebook art page, my blog, and my product gallery. As always, your comments are always welcome. I'll see you next painting.